is to speak about that which I'm struggling with. And so I've been struggling lately with feeling irritated. Can anybody relate? Can you relate to that? Feeling irritated by people, by people, places, and things. And I was in a spiritual, I was in a meeting this afternoon in a spiritual place, and gosh, I was so irritated and annoyed by this guy that was reading a magazine in the meeting. And I felt like, why isn't he paying attention? You know, it's like, this is a spiritual place, and you know, where there's a spiritual message, and what kind of spirituality is that? You know, you're reading a magazine, you know? And I could feel myself just getting injured by it, hurt by it. I even said something. I didn't really say it about him, but I did say something because it was irritating me so badly. And I know that's this really minor example, because there are people who feel injured in a much, much more serious and severe way and severe manner. People who are injured as victims of abuse, people who are victims of domestic violence, people who are victims of crime, for example. You know, through no fault of their own, they're being abused, they're being perpetrated against and injured. So I know that my little minor example of feeling irritated and feeling poked, and I always kind of feel like the divine is kind of like giving me one of those, you know, poking me. And I know that there's a lesson in that for me when that happens. It made me think about wanting to talk about forgiveness and wanting to talk about what I would call a three-prong approach. The three-prong approach to forgiveness and freedom. So the first prong, and this is my reminder, is to remember that I'm not this body. So I'm going to call it the non-dual or non-duality prong. The fact that there's no separateness between us. So there's no separateness between me and the guy that was reading the magazine. Like, he's me. You know? Yes, he's got his own name and form, and he's got his own body, and he's got his own name in this embodiment, and so do I. But that at the true essence and the true nature of the I am, of the I am of who I am, it's the same essence in him as it is in me. So non-duality is the first prong. The second prong, I thought, was that this is a gift. This nudge, this poke, this injury, this irritation is a gift for me to unwrap. And that this unwrapping of the gift is going to help me towards my spiritual evolution. And then the third prong is what I'm going to talk about in a minute, and what Chris is going to lead us in a meditation, is about compassion. It's about understanding, like the prayer of St. Francis, you know, less of me being understood and more of me trying to understand. So that maybe this guy is reading something that's really critical for him. Or maybe this guy is just like, you know, needs to do whatever he's doing, and for me to have compassion and shine love and light. And to have compassion and shine love and light towards me. Because maybe right now, I'm not in a place of love and light. And it's okay, because I'm growing, and I'm progressing. So the first part of the prong, this first prong, non-duality, that there's no separateness, that there's only the blessed self. I wanted to share with you a Hindu story about Rama. And you know, the Hindu scriptures and the mysticism of Hinduism is so cool, because whether or not Rama really exists isn't the point. You know, there's a mythology, and there's also hidden meaning. So the story of Rama is that he was about to be coronated king. And he's summoned into his father's kingdom that night. And he's kind of, he's thinking, and everybody else is thinking in this whole kingdom, that he's about to be coronated. And instead what happens is the father banishes him into the forest for a number of years. Is that bothering somebody?
Just a little. That's right.
Are those bells bothering anybody? There's a poke from the divine.
It's cool background.
It's kind of.
So, that's okay. But how did you
Okay.
sensed that?
Yes, I did. I sensed that was annoying to somebody. So anyway, the point is that what I'm always very impressed by with Rama is that he walks into the kingdom and he's smiling. He's smiling from ear to ear. And then his father says to him, he's crying, and he says to him, I'm banishing you, you have to be banished. And Rama doesn't miss a beat. His smile is never broken. He's not disappointed that he's going to get banished. And I was always impressed by that, and I was always thinking, like, I want to be like that. Like, whether things are going good or bad, whether I'm being disappointed or not, whether expectations are the way I want them to be or not, I always want to be in that place that Rama is in, where he's okay with the divine plan. He understood, and that there's a backstory to it, and if you're ever interested, you can probably Google it. I know that you can see the whole Ramayana on YouTube in about 50 parts, if you're interested, and it's really cool Hindu, Bollywood stuff. Really cool. But Rama knows that there's a divine plan. And he knows that God has his back. So that's why he doesn't flinch. That's why he doesn't start to cry or get sad or his smile is broken. Because he knows two things. One is that he knows the divine plan and that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. And the other part of it is that Rama knows that he is the blessed self. He is the soul. He is the soul untouched by anything bad that's about to happen. Whether we're rich or poor, whether we're homeless or not, whether we have a job, whether we don't, whether we're killed or not, even in the face of death, for me to remember that I am soul, the essence of who I really am, the true nature of who I am, if I can remember that, like a ray and the sun, and that there's no separateness, that you're a ray, 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 I'm a ray, from the same sun, that I'm just this body, which is changing and gonna die. And in fact, my belief is that we've had many embodiments. So this is just one of my stories. So that's my kind of take on non-duality and the fact that there's no separateness between us. The second is that there's a gift in this injury. So you see, when something really bad happens, like 2 years ago when I lost my job, I wasn't given tenure. And that meant that I was out of a job. I immediately saw that as adversity. When my dog died, when we had to put our dog down for 16 and a half years, adversity. I saw it as adversity. But it was a gift to unwrap. It was austerity, not adversity. And the reason that I say that is because this has to happen in order for me to propel to my spiritual evolution. You see, what happens, I think, with us is that we carry around baggage. I had an incident when I was about 15 and then again when I was 19 with my family. And I carried that resentment around for a really long time. Like I lugged this really bad, ugly baggage, very heavy, bad, ugly baggage around with me. Until a few years ago, I was able to unwrap it and like really look at it. And when I started to unwrap it as a gift, it changed everything for me. Suddenly then, there was magic in this gift, and once I released the injury of what my family had done to me, and was able to shine compassion on them, even the fact of losing the job at the college, shine compassion on the dean, shine compassion on the president of the college. When I was able to do that and shine compassion on myself, suddenly there was a miracle that happened. And the miracle was that I was able to release the resentment. So even the perpetrator of our injuries, I'd like to think of them as sacred FedEx agents who are delivering a package to us, which is a gift to unwrap. And for me in my life, when I was able to finally release and purify these, the impurities of my resentments, especially towards my family, and towards the divine, and towards society, I was free to completely receive the full potential of divine grace and blessings in my life. The third prong is what Pema Chodron calls Tonglen. And Tonglen, the practice of Tonglen, is a method of taking on the suffering of the person who has harmed us. And at the core of the practice is to breathe in the other person's pain. Yeah, the perpetrator. To breathe in the pain of the perpetrator, the person who has harmed us and injured us. And in breathing in the pain of the person who has harmed us, we're able to make them whole. We're able to heal them, and in healing them, we're healing ourselves. This process is also called Ho'oponopono, a Hawaiian tool of atonement that demonstrates the idea of recognizing that there's no separateness between me and that guy with the magazine, me and the dean, me and the president, me and my family, me and the guy that cuts me off on the highway, on 95. There's no difference between the betrayer and the betrayed. And the words that are sometimes used in Ho'oponopono is, I am sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. And thank you. Why should I have to say I'm sorry to you if you were the one that hurt me? Because I am you. And what you're doing is an aspect of me that still needs to grow and change and heal and evolve. And I'm sure you've heard the expression, hurt people hurt people. I know that if I believe that everything is happening according to the divine plan and that everything is happening for its highest good, like the Tao Te Ching talks about, sometimes things are ahead and sometimes they're behind. Sometimes breathing is hard, sometimes it comes easy. Sometimes there's strength and sometimes there's weakness. Sometimes something is up and sometimes it's down. So stop struggling. I don't have to play the victim role anymore. Guess what? I don't have to play the abuser role anymore either. Because I do believe that we're characters playing in a drama. And sometimes I'm the abuser and sometimes you're the victim. The blessed self, though, the soul, is the actor. And the character is the name and form. Just the costume we wear. So that's the kind of the character that I play today is Grace. But I have to remember that the blessed self can never be injured, not even in the death scene. Even in the death scene, which is the worst possible scenario, it's just the character that is dying, not the actor. So the actor is the blessed self. So what if right now, in this present moment, we were able to accept and forgive everyone, everything? What if we were able to accept that everything is happening for our highest good? What if we were able to see everything, even the injury, as a gift? Lord Jesus taught us, love your enemies. He said, bless those who curse you. Even in the worst scenario of his crucifixion, he said, forgive them. Pema Chodron also talks about ways to see events and people in our lives who trigger our unresolved issues as good news. Even when we think we can't handle it, or it's too much, or it's too painful. And maybe we say, I'll forgive, but I will never forget. That's okay too. Maybe we're not ready. Maybe we're not there yet. So forgiving yourself for not being able to forgive is okay too. So you see, when somebody annoys us, or I have to remember when I'm irritated, I can go through the three-pronged checklist. And on the intellectual level, I get it. I know I'm not this body. I know that my soul can't be harmed. The blessed self, the true I am. I can even recognize that adversity is a gift. I can do that. But what really is hard for me is the third prong, which is the prong of compassion. I have difficulty with that one. Seeing the other's pain and shining love and compassion and understanding on them. Seeing that the perpetrator of my injury is actually that aspect of myself that still needs polishing. That's where it gets tricky for me. So I want to open this up, this sacred dialogue up, and ask you, what about you? Is this hard for you? Can you share with us your experience, strength, and hope around ways to forgive, around ways to shine compassion and love when someone's injured us?